It's another Tuesday night. Here's the rant, and here's what happened on different sports. On Impact, Jordynne Grace retains the women's title against Miranda Elise, I suppose how you say it. This is somebody they haven't really heard of, and she was accompanied to the ring by Madison Rayne, who has been there for a very, very long time. Not real sure why they were giving this girl a title match that we've never heard of, with no story, no build, no anything like that. But Jordynne Grace does beat her. Eddie Edwards ties up the series with Michael Elgin 2-2 after he won his match. So now they'll have, out of their best of 5 series, they'll have one match left. Taya Valkyrie attacks Tessa Blanchard, which Tessa is the World Heavyweight Champion. So we'll see if they're going to have, that would be kind of an odd match to have, would be 2 women for the World Heavyweight Championship. And something that I don't think we've ever had or seen before. So we'll see how that plays out. Blanchard was facing Ace Austin in a kind of a title match. She wins by disqualification because of the Valkyrie interference, but Ace Austin, because of the disqualification, he retained his X Division championship, and Tessa didn't lose the match, so she didn't lose her title either, which titles cannot be lost on disqualification, count out, or anything like that. On AEW, there's just one thing I wanted to complain about on this. They do this all the time. They always have contract signings, and like on AEW, they had a weigh-in. And this is something that drives me insane. You know, they do it in WWE, and I guess AEW is doing it too. It always leads to some kind of shenanigans and things going on, and it's supposed to build the story, but I think it just fills a slot. And I think it's just a ridiculous thing to have. And this weigh-in thing was not necessarily needed, and really didn't need to be in there. And I think they just threw it in just to waste some time. I mean, it did nothing. It did absolutely nothing to this story or anything of that nature. It just one of those segments that you just want to skip over because it's just kind of stupid. And, you know, WWE does the same thing with contract signings. They get them out there to sign the contract and everything. It's like, yeah, people always know that you know what the match is going to be. And also, like, on this weigh-in thing, the ring announcer tells you where the person's from and how much they weigh. And you just take that as just a staple. Why you would have this stuff, I don't know. Like, in MMA and in boxing, it's fine because, you know, even though the announcer does do like wrestling, and the announcers do announce this and that, they do, the weigh-in and stuff is a lot more, it's a lot more to promote the fight already, that the fight's already being promoted, but it does more to promote the fight toward the actual fight itself. So it makes sense in an MMA or a boxing match or an MMA match or things like that. It makes more sense there as to where it doesn't really make sense in wrestling like that. And in wrestling, sports entertainment wrestling, it makes absolutely no sense, and it's stupid. So, there was an Iron Man match as well that went 30 minutes. It was a 30-minute time limit Iron Man match. I don't remember who was in the match because I just really didn't care. Whenever I was growing up, of course, the Attitude Era was in full swing whenever I was a teenager and watching wrestling. And those Iron Man matches were mostly an hour. Most of them that you see were an hour. And I mean, you didn't see very many, but there were a few. and they were an hour long. What you're going to accomplish in 30 minutes as opposed to an hour for an Iron Man match, I'm not really sure. 30 minutes, most of the matches go anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes anyways, most of them. Most of the squash matches go a little bit shorter. Championship battles, depending upon the two combatants, may go a little bit longer. But don't be calling it an Iron Man match if it's only 30 minutes. 30 minutes is not a very long Iron Man match. If you're going to be doing an Iron Man match, it needs to be at least an hour. And again, it felt like they were just trying to fill up time. And I hate it when shows do that, when they just look to fill up time. It's crazy. I mean, if you're going to have an Iron Man match, and if it does mean something, and these two guys are going to face off, and there's like a story going behind it, that's fine. I mean, you can have your 30-minute Iron Man match, but you better have something better around the corner if you're going to do 30 minutes instead of an hour. On NXT, there really wasn't anything that happened this week. Just story development, moving on, things of that nature. Some of the same stuff. Nothing really to report there. WWE had their Super SmackDown show on Thursday. That was a pay-per-view. I think it was in Saudi Arabia. They had I'm not even sure if I'm saying this right, a Tawai Trophy gauntlet match. And it was kind of weird because R-Truth was in the ring for a lot of the elimination. I think there was 5 or 6 total participants. And R-Truth eliminated 3, or I think he eliminated 3 of them. And finally, AJ Styles come out and he beat R-Truth. And then he was waiting for Rey Mysterio to come out. It shows to the back to where Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are back there beating up on Rey Mysterio, so Rey Mysterio can't come out to the ring. Styles thinks he's won this great trophy to match their best tag team in the world trophy that they won not too long ago. And The Undertaker comes out and like in just a couple of seconds puts Styles down and wins the trophy. I'm not real sure why they have like Gallows and Anderson going back to that best tag team in the world trophy. That really does nothing for that tag team because they've only held the titles a couple of times. And, they don't have the titles now, and you're calling yourselves the best tag team in the world. You're obviously not the best tag team in the world because you don't have the titles, and you only held them a couple of times. You can't lay claim to that. Yeah, you got a trophy, but whoop-de-freaking-do. It would have been the same thing with AJ Styles. AJ Styles is a very accomplished wrestler. Same thing with The Undertaker. They're both very good wrestlers. But a trophy saying that you're this champion, it doesn't really do anything with anybody. I think what they were going for here, though, is they're going to try to build Styles against Taker at WrestleMania. Granted, it's a little late for this type of match, especially with The Undertaker being the age he is. I mean, he is still in good shape. But I think we would have liked to seen it when he was in his prime, and maybe when AJ's kind of still in his prime a little bit, but we're talking like back when he was in Impact and he was the champion and he was the guy in Impact. That would have been the time to have had the matchup, even though you couldn't have the matchup because he was signed to Impact Wrestling and Taker was signed to WWE, so you couldn't really have that. Granted, it'll probably still be a good match, though. Should still be a good match. It's two guys that'll probably work really well together, and like I said, Undertaker can still perform even at the age that he's at. He seems to do well. Miz and Morrison win the tag titles over the New Day. They won the titles by using a chair. They hit one of them with a chair. Typical heel move. And win the titles that way. So we'll see where that goes. Rollins and Murphy retain their tag team titles against the Street Profits. Not much to say about that match, and they didn't have to cheat to win. They just kind of beat them. Remember what I'm saying right here of this retaining the titles, because once I get down to Monday Night Raw, there's going to be a little bit of a discussion that's going to go along with this. Let's see. Also, Lesnar just destroyed Ricochet. He just ran him over. The match didn't go very long. Ricochet came out maybe a little bit of a hot start, but didn't really phase Lesnar. And Lesnar just tore him to... It didn't last long. The match didn't last long. And again, remember what I'm saying here about Ricochet, because that will come up a little bit later again. Just like the Street Profits thing. And we'll talk about it when we get there. Reigns won the steel cage match against Baron Corbin. Hopefully this feud is over. I hope this feud is over, because it has just drug on for too long. We've had street fight, we've had cage match, we've had all kinds of other stuff. This thing needs to be over. It needs to be over. It's went for too long. There's nothing, there's no stakes to it. Neither of them have a championship or anything. And you just, there's not much more you can do with this. So just let it go. Bayley retains her title against Naomi. There's really nothing much to say there. Bayley just kind of out-wrestled her, and that's all there was to it. I thought Naomi might put up a little bit more of a fight, but it was not to be. The weird thing that happened is Goldberg won the title over The Fiend. And it's not so much that Goldberg won the title, but here's this problem I have with this. It's just like Lesnar. You have a part-timer that hardly ever shows up winning a title. And now you have Goldberg beating The Fiend when there was Bryan and Roman, or not Roman, but Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins. The Fiend looked unbeatable against them, and then you got Goldberg, and I'm not sure that WWE knew what they were wanting to do, or maybe The Fiend was injured. I'm not sure what happened, because The Fiend has Goldberg in the mandible claw twice, and Goldberg gets out of it, and on one of them he jackhammers him and pins him, and that was one of the sloppiest jackhammer, one of the sloppiest ones I've ever seen. It just looked like a float over slam, and that's what ends up beating The Fiend. And I'm just kind of like, really? I'm like, out of all these other, curb stomp and submission holds and everything else, this is what beats this guy? Like a float over slam? And I think me and a lot of other people were just really just shocked, but shocked in a bad way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind that Goldberg won the title, but still, it was something that, where do we go from here? Where do they go from here? Who does Goldberg face at WrestleMania? Or what do we do? Do we do anything with him at the Elimination Chamber? Do we do anything there? Or do we just let him go to WrestleMania as the champ and do it there? I'm not sure where we go with this. So we'll have to see what they choose to do with this. And hopefully they do not screw it up like they did on this. I'm still not real sure, like I said, unless The Fiend unless he was injured at some point and we just didn't know it. But something, I don't know. It's a head scratcher. Jay Bo Meester that I talked about a week or two ago that had the cardiac episode. The hockey player that had the cardiac episode. He has. He's going to take the rest of the season off. He's going to be out for the season. I don't know if he'll come back. They should make the playoffs, but I don't know even if they make the playoffs if he will come back and play in the playoffs. So that is yet to be determined. We'll see. All I know is he's out for the season. Joel Embiid, he's out with an injury, and Ben Simmons is out with an injury. Both of those play for the Philadelphia 76ers with their two biggest playmakers out. You have to see how the Sixers will do without their big superstars there. On SmackDown, John Cena returns. It looks like he's going to face The Fiend at WrestleMania. The Fiend was back out playing mind games, and he was out there with Cena, and they're both pointing at the sign. So we may see Cena face The Fiend at WrestleMania. Not looking too forward to the match, but it'll be interesting to see. The Fiend is a little bit older. Bray Wyatt going against a little bit older John Cena as well. So both of them should be about the same area on this, and should be. I would think it would be a pretty good match. It should be a pretty good match. I mean, people give John Cena a lot of flack, and some of them give Bray Wyatt a lot of flack, but I think this is something that they need to do, and because they faced each other previously. But let's fast forward and let's have them face each other again. So, and I know I'm switching back and forth between The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. For those of you who haven't watched or don't know, it's the same person. I'm just referring to him one way or the other. So it's the same guy. It's the same guy, just with a creepy mask on. Got the same finishing move except for the mandible claw. But there's tons of guys now that have 2 or 3 finishers that aren't even, like Kevin Owens is using the stunner anymore instead of the pop-up power bomb, and I think there was somebody the other day that was using another move in place of one of their moves, and so some of them are not even having the same move set anymore, or they have like 2 or 3 finishing moves, which makes for interesting, because it makes it more interesting because you never know which move they're going to use, which move they're going to do, so it makes it a little bit more interesting. Michael Thomas of the NFL is also against the new CBA. Russell Wilson was the one that said that he would vote against it, and now Michael Thomas has come out as against it as well. Those are the only 2 I've heard of so far. Romo has a new contract with CBS for $17 million. They played around with a couple of different deals and a couple of different people and stuff to see, and they're going to stick with Romo, so we'll see how that turns out for them. Interesting fact in Premier League soccer, I did not know this, I heard about it. Liverpool lost for the first time in 422 days. So this team had not lost in a little over a year. And that's pretty good for in the Premier League to not lose in over a year. So, but all streaks have to end at some point, and that's where Liverpool's end. But still, 422 days is pretty good in that league. Woodrow Wilson beat Greenbrier East 77-55. You knew I had to go to this one. They beat them in the sectional championship, and there was nothing this time. And it takes me back to whenever I was in school, or around the time I was in school. South Charleston, they are the South Charleston Black Eagles. They came down and painted Woodrow's eagle that sits outside black, and the boys faced them in the state final in the basketball championship and whooped them pretty bad. This kind of feels like the same thing, but on the girls' side. Greenbrier East kind of embarrassed them over at Greenbrier East with that whole incident with the thugs and everything. And Woodrow comes back and beats them by, more than, beats them by like 22 points. So I guess the thing is, just don't tick another team off if you can't get the job done. Don't tick that other team off, because more than likely they'll come back and embarrass you. So, and for Woodrow, that was a good thing for them. They may meet Greenbrier East down the line in the state tournament, but it'll be different sites this time. So we'll see how that goes. AEW had their pay-per-view on Saturday. Paige and Omega retained the titles against the Young Bucks in what was a match that, to me, felt like it went a little bit too long between these two tag teams. Felt like it went a little bit long. Paige and Omega win, and Omega looks like he's going to make the heel turn at some point. Not Omega. Paige looks like he's going to make the heel turn at some point. It never happens. It never happens. So maybe that's on in the future. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. Nyla Rose defends the title against Kris Statlander. Rose dominates pretty much most of the match, but Statlander gets in some pretty good offense, and she would have won, but she went to the well one too many times. She got caught up on the top rope, and she goes to, I think she was trying to Hurricane Rana Nyla Rose off of the top rope, which would have been a tremendous feat in itself, because Nyla is a rather large individual, and for somebody to just take their feet and flip her over, she would have had to jump off the rope herself and kind of roll. It's not that it couldn't happen, but it didn't happen in this scenario. She just kind of caught her over there, and she just powerbombed her into the mat. And that was the end of that match. So Nyla Rose is still the women's champion over in AEW. I'm not sure if they're calling it women's championship or what they're calling it. Jon Moxley beats Chris Jericho for the world title. This was something that was building for a long time. And for those of you who don't know who Jon Moxley is, he was Dean Ambrose in the WWE. And they had the storyline that he got his eyeball poked, and everything, had to wear the patch and all. It finds out he was actually tricking everybody, and he was not hampered in any way by the eyeball and by the eye patch. So, he ends up catching Jericho kind of off guard. Even Jericho's people tried to interfere in the match, and Moxley still pulls out the win. Yeah, pretty good match, actually. Now, here's the Street Profits thing I was talking about earlier. Monday night, the Street Profits win the titles over Rollins and Murphy, who they just faced Thursday night. It's the same scenario, the same deal, and this time the Street Profits win, but here's the difference on this matchup. The AOP was trying to, that's the Authors of Pain, they were trying to help Rollins and Murphy. They're getting ejected by the referee. While the referee has his back turned, Kevin Owens comes in and does what I talked about earlier. He hits that stunner on Rollins. That allows the Street Profits to pick up the win and be the tag team champions. So, I'm not sure if they're setting up like Rollins and Owens at WrestleMania, or what they're going to do with that, because that leaves Murphy with nobody. So, but I think they're going to try to win the titles back at the Elimination Chamber. They may go for WrestleMania. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, because, like I said, there's too many variables in there to. They can't leave Murphy by himself unless they're going to work him into a title picture of some sort. You really don't want to put him back on 205 Live with the cruiserweights, because he's been on the main roster now, and that doesn't really work real well if you come up, and then you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It gets confusing. You forget where everybody's at. So we'll see how they play that. 24/7 title. This is where the Ricochet thing comes in. The 24/7 title is defended by Riddick Moss against Ricochet. Ricochet did not look good in this matchup, and it was, like I said, it was just Thursday when he lost to Lesnar. And he just did not look really good in this matchup at all. And for somebody like Riddick Moss to come along and beat Ricochet when Ricochet's supposed to be this great athlete, it doesn't say a whole lot. It says Ricochet's on a downward spiral. Not good. 24/7 title, I know most people agree, oh, it's good to see a normal match. It should be like it was before with the Hardcore Championship. The 24/7 title means 24/7. It means anytime, anywhere. It don't have to be in the ring. It can be outside of the ring. It can be before a match, after a match, during a match. You know, let's have some shenanigans with this thing. Let's have some crazy stuff with this thing. You know, I mean, we had that in the Attitude Era with the Hardcore Championship. You know, there's people fighting out in the alleys and in the streets. They were fighting at restaurants and different stuff like that. It breaks up the show a little bit, and you don't have to have so many promo parts and filler parts to a match to try to fill up time. You have these crazy things that just randomly show up out of nowhere, and it's, oh, somebody done this or somebody done that, and it makes it, to me, it makes it more entertaining. Most people may not like it, but you know what? To me, it makes it more entertaining, and it makes more sense that way. Now, Alex Bowman wins the Auto Club 400 at Fontana and Racing. Really wasn't nothing else to go on there. The Yankees' Aaron Judge and, I hope I'm saying this right, Giancarlo Stanton may miss games due to injuries that they both have. They have different injuries, but they may miss some games. I think they're going to miss the start of the season at least. So we'll see what happens there. Boston's Chris Sale is going to have an elbow MRI to see if surgery is needed. He may miss some time. He may require Tommy John surgery. And if he does, he will be out for quite a while, because that is one of those surgeries that is a major surgery, and it takes a while to come back from. So, we'll see what happens there. And the last thing that we're going to talk about, there may be some criminal charges. There was, let's see, last July, a player by the name of Tyler Skaggs, he played for the Angels, he wasn't very old, he passed away, and they determined that he died from a combination of opioids and alcohol. And they're actually looking at, there may be some criminal charges in his death. The court actually has new evidence, and some people around him may be charged in his death with criminal charges, because some of them supplied him with the opioids or the alcohol, and they may be charged in his death. And it's a shame, and you hate to see young players from any sport die tragically from anything. But as people well know, drugs are a big problem, and not only in the sports world, but in the world in general. And it's a shame that we have all these things and stuff like that. But it's one of those things, and it's tragic when things like that happen. But we'll see as it goes along if anybody's charged with anything with that. Talk about it real quick. There was a tornado that touched down in Nashville yesterday. Did a lot of property damage. I haven't heard much else about it. Just keep those people in your thoughts and in prayers, because from what I've seen and from what I heard, it kind of tore up the whole area, and that could very well happen just about anywhere. Tornadoes are a little bit common in the Midwest, more so, but they do touch down in Tennessee. Kind of fortunate here in the United States, in West Virginia, knock on wood. We're kind of fortunate here. We have high winds, but we really don't have that many of them touch down. But we do have high winds, and we have had a few touch down, but they've not been really, really bad. I always tell people, they always ask me about, snow and rain, and I told them, and like thunderstorms and stuff, and I told them, I said the only two things really that bother me are high winds and ice. High winds and ice. Like I said, I can deal with snow. Snow's fine. I don't have a problem with the snow or driving in the snow. It's the ice I worry about. Same thing with the wind. Thunderstorms and things like that, they do not bother me. It's the wind. It's the high wind that comes with that bothers me. And, it's just, it's just bad anytime a tornado or a hurricane rips through somewhere. Turns people's lives upside down. And, people try to predict them, and they come up with so many new things in scientific discovery, but some of those are just so random, and no matter how prepared you are for them, they're natural disasters. They come through and they tear up jack. So earthquakes and tsunamis are the same way. You never really know. It just it shows up out of nowhere, and it might only last for a couple minutes, but when you're around it or when you're in it, it seems like it's forever. It seems like it's a long time. Speaking of Friday Night Fisticuffs, we're going to do Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's Shadows over Mystaria, or Mystery of Mystaria. I forget what it's called. We're going to do that because I couldn't get it done last Friday night because the other one took an hour. It's kind of like the other one that I did, the Tower of Doom one. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's kind of like that one, but it's a little bit more polished and a little bit more smooth on the gameplay. Like I said, there's many different paths to go through on both games. I'm just going on the path that I choose to go through, that I went through like the first time I played the game. So otherwise it would take too many playthroughs and too much time to try to go through each one. There's probably going to be some, maybe next Friday. There may not be a Friday Night Fisticuffs for a week, maybe for a week or two, depending upon how things go, because might be a little bit busy on the Friday and the Friday after. We'll have to see how that goes. I'll try to keep people posted if we're going to be able to do things or not. We should be able to, but in case we don't, I've notified Jim that it might not be there. Jim may do some posting. I'm not really sure. I can still do these Tuesday night ones because I'm doing them straight onto my phone and then uploading them onto YouTube. So that's how I'm able to do these, and I can do this. I can do these, but for the Friday night streams, I have to use a capture a little. It's called an Elgato. It's a capture. It's like a capture machine of sorts, like a capture video, and I have to be on. I have to be online to use it. I have to be. I don't absolutely have to be online, but to stream it live, I have to be online. Otherwise, I would have to stream it. Then I would have to go back, and once I could be back online again, I could post it on there. But it wouldn't make much of a difference because it would still there would still be delay on it. So we'll see what happens with that. But, like I said, I'll try to keep everybody posted. Again, like usual, like, subscribe. If this is your first time here, I know we got some new people. If this is your first time here to the channel, and you're watching this, welcome to the channel. We do playthroughs, and we do this rant thing every Tuesday. We do Friday Night Fisticuffs, and then we do some streams. If you want to see us stream a game, and if we have it, we'll try to stream it for you if we can. If we can't, we'll find something similar to it. Try to stream that. It's kind of an open forum in the Amused Gamers on Facebook, and even on the YouTube. If you've got something to contribute, if you want to have a discussion, or if you want to, or if you are into making videos yourself, whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube or on anything like Mixer or anything like that, and you can get it posted on the Facebook, post it on there. If you think your friends would enjoy the channel or would enjoy the page, invite them to show up as well. I mean, we like I said, we don't do speed running. We play through games. I will tell you that, like, the way I play through games, I may do stuff differently than what somebody else might do. Like, I might play a game one way, Jim may play it the other way. We just give you ideas of what we do that works for us, so that you have an idea of what might work for you. It may not work. Like, for instance, an example that I always use is Mega Man. I may play Mega Man 2. I go after Metal Man first. Jim may go after Bubble Man, Wood Man, or somebody like that first. There's no right or wrong way. It's just personal preference. He may go one way, I may go the other. But we just kind of show you, this is the way we do it. It may not be your way or the way that you do things, but it's kind of a guide, kind of a little path, a little pattern on those, and it's certainly not the way to do it. If you've got another way of doing this or doing that, we welcome your comments. I mean, and it may help somebody else. It may help somebody else. Somebody else may be struggling with the way I do something or the way Jim does something, and it may help somebody else. Roger is also another streamer. He streams games with us as well. He may have something that is on the game that you may be able to use or something like that. Or he may have hints and tips and stuff like that that he would be willing to share as well. Me and Jim will try to help as much as we can, tips and hints on different games that we've played. So, if anybody questions about those. But, we're going to cut this off, and we will see you next Tuesday with another rant.
Oh. close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them. To see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And sleep till I come home, dream of something sweet. I will be there soon to wake your soul to sleep. to